Hey everyone, welcome back. Tonight we're going to do something slightly different, a little bit of an experiment. I've done this as a test once before, but I haven't really actually ever shaved with it this way yet. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of menthol from the chill mill into my bowl, and then I love menthol. It's been a warm day, really warm day here. It doesn't help that after I got off work, I went out and fired up my charcoal grill and barbecued some wings, and that got really hot. So I'm going to take my little spoon, I'm going to crush my crystals. So I have the Gen 1 chill mill, and that doesn't get the menthol crystals very, it grinds it up decently, but not exceptionally small. And there can be larger chunks of crystal still. So I just take my little plastic baby spoon here that I normally use to scoop out soap, and I just crush up the crystals to a little more of a fine powder. Now, what I am going to do is, if you've already seen the thumbnail, you know that I am using Tabac in a bowl, but I'm using Tabac shave stick. That's what I have left. So then this is plain enough to rub on my face and build my lather. However, I'm gonna bowl lather this. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna take my stick, kind of get it wet a little bit, and then I'm gonna take my brush. This is my Semogue, I can never remember the number, pretty dang floppy. And I'm going to wring it out, flick it a little bit, get out all the excess water, and I'm just going to load from here. I've done this before as a test, just to see if I could do it. So I'm just gonna load my brush, see if I can get a decent load in here, and then I'll build a lather in the bowl. I'm not gonna bore you with doing that because Tabac is a fairly thirsty soap, and every time I face lathered this stick, it's taken me a long time to build a lather, and my videos are already long enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut right here, and I will come back once I have the lather built in the bowl. All right, I have the lather all whipped up. We are good to go. I don't need to do this with Tabac, but because I have it, I might as well use the cube. Did you get that? Just a little bit wet here. I mean, Tabac is nice and slick. I mean, Tabac is one of my favorite soaps. It's one that if I didn't have artisan soaps, I'd use Tabac quite frequently, and I do use it frequently. I know there's plenty of videos out there, and a lot of people in the various groups and forums and whatnot either love or hate it. Love the performance, hate the scent, or love everything about it. I am definitely firmly in the I love everything about it camp. It's just, I love the scent, I love the performance, everything about Tabac is just fantastic. And here's what I got in my knot, and here's what I got in my bowl. Now, oh, I love this scent. So we're just gonna work it a little bit, kind of get the cube, and there's a little menthol. Tabac reminds me of being in Germany when I used to live over there. Just beautiful scent. This was long before I knew about traditional shaving and everything, even when I lived over there. You know, if I had to go and get a new razor blade or anything, I was just looking for the cartridge for what I used at the time, which was like a Mach 3 or a, can't remember if it was the Gillette or the Schick, whatever it was. Either way, I missed out on so many wonderful German products when I lived over there, or European products as a whole. which sucks because I would like to go back and get them all out. But the good thing is you can get Tabac relatively easily here in the US now. As long as you're willing to, and it is a little bit higher for the shave stick and other stuff. If you get the refill puck, it's not bad. It's pretty reasonably priced. Look at that menthol. It's kicking in. And it feels great. So, as you've already seen from the thumbnail, I'm gonna go with my IBC. I do not know what blade is in here. I think this might be the Kai standard, maybe a feather. I have no idea. Don't recall. I just know it's a good blade. So we'll just go with that. Anyway, so today, currently Tuesday, also hence Tabac. Probably could have got this a little wetter, but it's still working. And you know, Father's Day was Sunday. We had my parents and my wife's parents over for dinner. And I grilled up some wings. On my charcoal grill. And I love cooking wings on the charcoal grill. It's just, oh, there's just something about the flavor with the smoke and everything just tastes so good. But one of the problems I have with barbecue in general is a lot of the rubs. Mostly the ingredients in the rubs. A lot of them have what's called edible nightshades. Any kind of peppers, you know, bell pepper, green pepper, jalapeno, paprika, potatoes, tomatoes, eggplants, all of those have been shown to trigger arthritis. This could be wetter. And if you watched the video where I did a head shave with the Dogo Shillette, I commented I don't necessarily always have the best of luck when it comes to health things. And that rings true, yet again, for me. Because I love potatoes and peppers and spices in my rubs. I can't do too many spicy things because once I hit 30, I get heartburn from looking at spicy food. But I love the flavor of peppers and certain things. But that triggers arthritis. And I have pretty bad arthritis in my lower back. Now you're probably asking yourself, how the heck does one get lower arthritis in the lower back? Well, let me tell you, it takes talent or really bad luck. So when I was in my early 30s, 30, 31 years old, something like that, I was shoveling my driveway one winter. And, you know, I was following proper techniques, bending with my knees and lifting with my legs and everything when I had shovel or when I was shoveling the snow. And I got done and I had a hard time standing up. You know, my back hurt, so I thought, I should probably pull the muscle. Because like I said, I'm 6'5". For those that are not on the stupid imperial system, that's almost 2 meters tall. They don't make things for people my height very frequently. So I'm using a shovel that had a curve to it, but I'm bending over and doing everything I can properly. Much better. And, you know, I I get done, and I couldn't stand up straight, so I'm thinking, I just pull a muscle. And go get some ice. And I'll lay down for a minute, and I'll be okay. And at the time, I was traveling every single week. I was on a plane every Monday morning. And then flying home Thursday night or Friday morning without fail. And I wasn't going on long flights at the time. It's mostly to places like Arizona or California, where the flight took an hour, 20 minutes, hour and a half. You know, short flight, small plane. I don't fit small planes. So keep that in mind. I'm in a small airplane. My back hurts. Because I thought at the time I should pull the muscle. I was working for a company that specializes in medication automation dispensing devices, or basically ATMs for narcotics and other medications. And by narcotics, I mean stuff like Tylenol 3, morphine, stuff like that. And other medications you get if you're in the hospital. And at the time, I wasn't doing a whole lot of new installs. We were doing a lot of upgrades. And the upgrade, they would either get a brand new machine, which was easier because you just unplug, plug the new one back in, and make sure you're connected to the network and getting the stuff from the database and everything else, and you're fine. A couple new features you have to train the nurses on, no big deal. Other times, they were just getting a brand new PC, or computer unit, which is the top unit. So you'd have to, and these machines were not, they're not thin, I mean, they were yay wide-ish. Yeah, about as wide as my shoulders, maybe a little bit wider. And the tops themselves weighed 75 or so pounds, which isn't heavy. You know, I'm not saying they're heavy, but on the box, when these computer units come in, they say right on the top, or right on the box, warning, awkward shape. 2 people required to lift this. Do not attempt to do this by yourself. And of course, I'm at these hospitals mostly. What am I doing? Doing this by myself. Because they're like, oh, you can handle this. This isn't that bad. I'm like, no, it's not hard. But I shouldn't be lifting these things by myself because they're awkward. So, I thought I pulled a muscle. Floppy brush. And I'm doing all these top swaps, computer unit upgrades, and lifting these stupid things that are awkward and bulky and relatively heavy by myself. And this goes on for months, and my back is just not getting better. So that's always fun. So I end up finally going to see a doctor, having a time where I could be home to go see a doctor. And of course he prescribes good medication. I can't remember what it was on. I think it was Loratab? I think it was on Loratab. Loratab's good stuff. But boy, does it jack with my head. I didn't think it did because I was on it so often. But apparently it makes me kind of loopy. But anyway, So we're on Laura tab, and I'm working and everything, and one day out of the blue, my boss sends me an email, hey, you know, when you're on site and working and traveling, how are you managing your pain? Because naive me is thinking, oh, my boss actually cares about my well-being. No. Because the next response out of him was, you know, we can't have you taking narcotics or heavy medication that you can only get by prescription while you're working. Didn't ask how I was feeling, didn't check to see how the pain was, just, are you taking your Lortab prescription during work hours? Because if you are, that's a no-no. Should have been clear through that company that he was a horrible boss. But long story short, I ended up going and getting an MRI. And you know, then I go see a back specialist who then refers me to a surgeon. And at this point, the MRI is almost a year old. By the time we can get into the actually see the surgeon. And he looks at this year-old MRI and goes, holy cow, your back is really bad. Here's what's going on. Your disc, or your meniscus is between these two vertebrae, is pushed completely out. So your bone, your L5 and S1 vertebrae, are on top of each other. And because the meniscus is pushed out, it's pinching off your sciatic nerve, which is really fun. So he said, there's a few things we can do here. We can do a discectomy, which is just gonna take out the disc and remove that pressure, but then there's still nothing between your vertebrae. So you're still gonna be in a whole lot of pain. Or what I recommend is a spinal fusion. Then he explains the procedure of the spinal fusion and kind of what it does. And it's exactly what it sounds like. They take your vertebrae, they put stuff in between, and then they put two titanium rods between the back of your vertebrae, and your vertebrae grow and fuse together. So, yay. And I'm in my early 30s at the time. And because I travel so much, he said titanium rods in your spine. My first thought was, how is this going to affect your growth of security for traveling for work? Yeah, that's seriously my first thought. And so we talk about it and all that. And I go back to my boss and I let him know what the doctor said, the surgeon, and he's like, okay, well, let's look at dates and whatnot. And I finally get dates where the surgeon is available at the hospital where I chose. Because for those of you that don't know, most doctors, surgeons don't work for the hospital. They have an independent group and they're licensed to work and perform procedures or whatever out of various facilities. And that's kind of how doctors work, for the most part. Of course, there are instances where doctors do work for a specific hospital. They're employed by the hospital, not these various independent groups. But anyway, so I contact my boss, give him the dates and tell him the information. He's like, all right, here's what we can do. And he's like, okay, well, and I'm in the middle of an expansion project at a hospital here in Utah, in Ogden, kind of close to where I was living. And oddly enough, one of my neighbors in my neighborhood was the materials management director, so he's in charge of all the supplies. So I knew him fairly well. I could see his house from my front door. So anyway, I'm doing this extension project at the hospital, and I tell my boss, like, hey, I've been cleared for surgery, insurance is good. Here are the dates that that are available. One of them was right in the middle of the project, and the other one was right after the project, like right after the go live of the expansion units, a couple weeks of support of the expansion units to the nursing staff, and then like a little bit of time to clean up our changing area, or where we had the machines for, you know, configuration and building and whatnot. So I give me 2 dates, and again, my boss is a compassionate individual. He said, well, I need you to take this after the project is done and wrapped up. Keep in mind, I've been dealing with severe pain for over a year at this point. I couldn't stand up straight. I could not straighten my left leg. And if I wasn't on site, I was walking with a cane. When I got back from work, I lied down for the rest of the night. I was barely able to do anything. And my compassionate boss at the time was like, nope, we need to finish this project out. Then you can have your surgery and actually, you know, start healing and getting better. So that was a fun thing. So I ended up finishing the project. And I ended up having the surgery at the hospital. So I wrapped up the project on like a Thursday or Friday. I finished everything up and, you know, told the pharmacist, hey, you know, I'm done, we're all good here. Here's these boxes that, you know, here's a label. Just put these down in materials manager in your shipping dock, and they'll come and schedule a pickup. So I finished that up on a Friday. I have to work Monday. Kind of go over, you know, wrap up everything, get up all the paperwork done for work and all that. And then I go on for surgery on Tuesday at this hospital, where my neighbor is the materials management director. It's a pretty small hospital. It's mostly on one floor. They have a basement where they have the pharmacy and the materials management and the cafeteria and some offices. But all the patient care area was on the main floor, or the ground floor. And then, you know, I had the surgery, and this day after the surgery, I'm there with my physical therapist. You know, I'm in my walker, and we're walking down the hall because I have to get used to walking again, because it just drilled titanium rods into my spine. So I'm figuring, you know, going walking and building up stamina, because that wasn't a traumatic experience or anything. And I pass one of the physical therapists, who I'd seen numerous times, because oddly enough, the room that I was in as an inpatient procedure, of course, so I'm in the hospital for like 3 days. And the area that I'm in, where my room is in the expansion of their med-surg unit, or medical surgery, where most people go after an inpatient procedure. So I'm there, and I'm walking around with my physical therapist, and this other therapist comes in and says, man, you look awfully familiar. Do you work here by chance? I'm like, no, but I've been working here for the past 6 months. You know, this machine that's in this room right here, because I just happened to stop by their supply room. Like, you know the machine that's in here that the nurses and respiratory therapists go in to get their medications for their patients? Like, yeah, like, I put that there. I work for that company. They're like, oh, that's what I've seen here before. Like, yeah. So I got to spend time in that hospital after I finished the project for a couple days, which was great at the time also because I lived in a split entry home and I had to go to, when we parked our vehicle in the garage, we had to go up 7 stairs, small landing, and 7 more stairs to get to the main, where the master bathroom, bedroom was, the kitchen, living room, all that stuff was all on the 2nd floor. So I had to go up those basically 15 stairs to get to where I was going to be spending the next numerous weeks. And I told the therapist, like, hey, I live in a split entry home. You know, I need to do stairs. And she tried to take me to their gym that has a little 2 stairs up, platform 2 stairs down. I was like, no. Like, I have to go up 14 stairs when I get home in a few days. Take me to Jeff's office. She's like, excuse me, like Jeff? I'm like, yeah, Jeff, your materials management director, take me to his office. She's like, well, how do you know Jeff? I was like, just my neighbor. Just take me downstairs. Take me down those stairs right there in those doors. So she took me down the stairs. Now, because of the spinal fusion surgery, I kind of alluded to this earlier with arthritis, is I now have arthritis in my back, my lower back. And all of those wonderful rubs from cooking on the charcoal grill can hurt my back because of the set of the arthritis. So that's all kinds of fun. Especially if I'm wanting to cook chicken wings, or eventually when I want to start doing ribs and brisket and all those good things. Gotta be careful. So, moral of the story, getting old sucks. If you have random pain places after you eat certain foods like potatoes, tomatoes, eggplant, or anything like that, it might be nightshades that's causing issues. What's up, buddy? Yeah. So, might want to cut those out of your diet if they are causing pain. Ooh, that menthol. Love the menthol. So that's always fun. So it's just something to keep in mind for you guys. All right, just a little bit of touch up. So this didn't work with the bowl as well as it did in my test. I don't know if I didn't get the brush wet enough or what the deal was. But the lather still dissipated. Still a lot of lather left in the knot. And I had to go back to the bowl numerous times to get it to between passes. Which before when I used the soap and did that, and I had plenty of lather, it was really good. It could just be I didn't load long enough. Either way, it's worth experimenting with. You can see residual thickness on this is just phenomenal. I just took off a little bit areas here. Oh, I love the back. Well, that was a really good shave. I'm 27 minutes. Relatively short-ish for me. So I will do clean up my gear off camera, but I am going to be using a sample splash that I have from an artisan that I love this, and it just works really well with the back. So I use the Tabac shave stick, lathered up in my copper Captain Choice bowl. As you can see, I used everything that was in there with my Semogue where it's dissipating. And it may be because I used a different bowl tonight and had too much water. Still trying to put that knot and figure it out. But anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to me ramble and tell another story. And again, thank you for all my subscribers and for those that are watching. And I'll catch you guys